The late afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows of the Grand Plaza Hotel, casting long golden rectangles across the polished marble floor. The lobby buzzed with the quiet energy of travelers coming and going, business people hurrying to meetings and tourists admiring the historic building's elegant architecture. In the center of the spacious lobby stood a magnificent grand piano, its glossy black surface reflecting the crystal chandeliers that hung from the ornate ceiling. The instrument wasn't just for show. The hotel was famous for hosting both established and upcoming musicians, adding a touch of culture to the luxury experience. Among the flow of people moving through the lobby was Lily Chen, a 34-year-old elementary school teacher from a small town in Ohio. She looked somewhat out of place among the well-dressed hotel guests in her simple blue sundress and comfortable walking shoes. A worn leather bag hung from her shoulder, containing a paperback novel, a small notebook, and a water bottle, essentials for her first solo vacation in years. Lily had saved for nearly 2 years to afford this trip to Chicago. After her mother's long illness and peaceful passing last winter, Lily had needed something to look forward to. Chicago had always been a dream destination, with its architecture, museums, and vibrant music scene. Her modest teacher's salary didn't allow for many luxuries, but she had carefully budgeted for this one splurge: afternoon tea at the historic Grand Plaza Hotel, a place she had read about in travel magazines. As she waited for the host to call her name for tea service, Lily found herself drawn to the piano. She approached it slowly, almost reverently, careful not to touch it. Growing up, her family could never afford a real piano. She had learned on an old keyboard her uncle had given her, a far cry from this masterpiece of craftsmanship. "It's a Steinway Model D," a deep voice said from behind her. "Made in 1937, one of the finest concert grand pianos ever built." Lily turned around, startled. The man who had spoken was tall and slender, with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He wore a casual but clearly expensive black sweater and gray slacks. Something about him seemed familiar, but Lily couldn't place him. "It's beautiful," she replied, feeling a bit embarrassed to be caught staring. "I've never seen one up close before, at least not outside of a museum." The man smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. "Do you play?" Lily laughed softly, shaking her head. "Not anything like this. I learned on an old keyboard when I was little. My grandmother taught me some basics before she passed away. Now I just play on an old upright piano at the school where I teach." "I see," the man said, studying her with interest. "And what brings you to the Grand Plaza today?" "I'm treating myself to afternoon tea," Lily explained. "I'm on vacation, my first real one in years, actually." "Ah, a special occasion then." The man gestured toward the piano. "Would you like to try it?" Lily's eyes widened. "Oh no, I couldn't possibly. It's so fancy. I'm sure they don't let just anyone play it." "I think we can make an exception," he said with a mysterious smile. "I have a bit of influence here." That's when it clicked. Lily gasped as recognition dawned on her. "You're Anton Petrov, aren't you? The concert pianist?" He nodded, seeming pleased but not surprised at being recognized. "Guilty as charged." Lily felt her cheeks flush. Anton Petrov was world famous, having performed with the most prestigious orchestras across the globe. His recordings of Chopin and Rachmaninoff were legendary, and he was known for his passionate interpretation of the classics. "I have your recording of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, she admitted. "I listened to it when I grade papers. It's beautiful." "Thank you," Anton said with genuine warmth. "Music is meant to be a part of everyday life, not just for special occasions or only for those with formal training." He gestured toward the piano again. "Please, I insist. Play something. Anything. You like?" Lily looked around nervously. "But won't the hotel mind? I'm staying here while I'm in town for a series of performances with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra," Anton explained. "Part of my arrangement with the hotel is access to this piano for practice. So technically, I'm inviting you to play during my allotted time." Several hotel guests had begun to notice the famous pianist standing by the grand piano, and a few were discreetly taking photos. A hotel staff member approached, but, upon recognizing Anton, simply nodded respectfully and retreated. "I really shouldn't," Lily protested weakly, though her fingers itched to touch the keys. "What's your name?" Anton asked. "Lily. Lily Chen." "Well, Lily Chen," Anton said, pulling out the piano bench and gesturing for her to sit. "Sometimes the most beautiful music comes from the most unexpected places. Why don't you play something that brings you joy?" His kindness was disarming. With trembling legs, Lily sat down on the bench, placing her bag on the floor beside her. The keys gleamed like perfect white and black teeth before her. She placed her hands in her lap, suddenly overcome with nervousness. "I haven't played for anyone but my students in years," she admitted. "And they're not exactly a demanding audience. 7-year-olds are pretty easy to impress." Anton laughed. "Then play for your students. Imagine they're here with you, excited to hear their teacher make music." Lily took a deep breath and slowly placed her hands on the keys. The cool ivory felt nothing like her old keyboard or the worn-out upright at school. She pressed one key experimentally, and a pure, rich note rang out across the lobby. The sound was so beautiful that it gave her courage. She began to play a simple melody, one her grandmother had taught her, an old folk song about changing seasons and enduring love. Her fingers moved hesitantly at first, afraid of making mistakes. But as the familiar tune progressed, she found herself relaxing into the music. The piano responded to her touch in a way no instrument ever had before, each note ringing with clarity and depth. Lily forgot about Anton Petrov standing nearby. She forgot about the hotel guests who had paused to listen. She even forgot about her nervousness. There was only the music, the melody her grandmother had loved, the memory of her gentle hands guiding Lily's smaller ones across the keys of a much humbler instrument. Without thinking, Lily began to embellish the simple tune, adding harmonies and variations that seemed to flow naturally from her fingers. She had never played these notes before, yet somehow they felt right, as if the music itself was guiding her. Anton watched, his expression changing from polite interest to genuine surprise. He had expected a simple, hesitant rendition of a beginner's piece. What he heard instead was raw, untrained talent, the kind that couldn't be taught, only nurtured. The woman played without technical perfection, certainly, but with an intuitive understanding of emotional expression that many trained musicians spent years trying to develop. Hotel guests began to gather in a loose semicircle around the piano. A businessman set down his briefcase. A couple with shopping bags paused their conversation. 2 front desk clerks exchanged glances of surprise. Even the bartender from the hotel lounge appeared in the doorway, drawn by the unexpected music. Lily was lost in the moment, unaware of the growing audience. As she finished the folk song, she transitioned without pause into another piece, this time something more complex, a simplified version of a classical piece she had taught herself by ear after hearing it on the radio. She didn't know the composer or even the proper name of the piece, but the melody had haunted her for years. Anton's eyebrows rose as he recognized the piece, a simplified but surprisingly faithful interpretation of Debussy's Clair de Lune. What was remarkable wasn't her technical execution, which was obviously self-taught, but the emotional quality she brought to the music. She played as if telling a story, with natural dynamic changes and an innate sense of timing that couldn't be taught. When Lily finally lifted her hands from the keys, the spell was broken. She blinked, suddenly aware of the crowd that had gathered. A moment of silence hung in the air before applause erupted around her. Lily's face flushed deeply as she realized what had happened. She had gotten completely carried away, playing as if she were alone in her living room, rather than in the lobby of one of the most prestigious hotels in Chicago. "I'm so sorry," she stammered, looking up at Anton. "I didn't mean to—" "Sorry?" Anton interrupted, his eyes alight with excitement. "My dear Lily, that was extraordinary. Where did you learn to play like that?" "I didn't, not really," she explained, embarrassed by his praise. "I just play by ear. I can't even read music properly." Anton shook his head in amazement. "That makes it even more remarkable. You have a natural gift. something that can't be taught. A hotel manager had appeared, attracted by the impromptu performance and the gathering crowd. Far from being upset, he seemed delighted to discover the source of the music that had momentarily transformed the lobby's atmosphere. "Mr. Petrov," the manager said with a respectful nod, "we didn't realize you would be entertaining our guests this afternoon. What a wonderful surprise." "The surprise was mine," Anton replied, gesturing toward Lily, who was still seated at the piano bench looking completely overwhelmed. "This talented young woman was kind enough to demonstrate the beautiful voice of your piano." The manager turned to Lily with newfound respect. "It was truly lovely, miss. You're welcome to play again during your stay with us." As the crowd began to disperse, returning to their previous activities, Anton sat down on the bench beside Lily. "Would you join me for tea?" he asked. "I'd love to hear more about your musical journey." Lily nodded, still speechless from the unexpected turn of events. Just 30 minutes ago, she had been an ordinary tourist, a small-town teacher on a budget vacation. Now she was about to have tea with one of the greatest pianists in the world, all because she couldn't resist the allure of a beautiful piano standing in a hotel lobby. As they walked toward the tea room, Lily couldn't help but wonder what her grandmother would think if she could see her now. She had a feeling that somehow, somewhere, her grandmother was smiling. The hotel's tea room was a picture of elegance, with delicate china teacups, silver serving trays, and tiered plates of tiny sandwiches and pastries. Lily felt out of place among the well-dressed patrons, but Anton's easy manner helped calm her nerves. They were seated at a corner table near a window overlooking the hotel's courtyard garden. "I ordered for both of us," Anton said, as a waiter arrived with a steaming pot of tea. "I hope you don't mind. The jasmine blend here is exceptional." Lily nodded, still trying to process what had just happened in the lobby. The waiter poured the fragrant tea into 2 cups and discreetly withdrew. "You're very quiet," Anton observed, adding a small spoonful of honey to his tea. "Are you upset that I put you on the spot like that?" "No, not upset," Lily replied, wrapping her hands around the warm teacup. "Just overwhelmed. I never play for anyone except my students, and certainly not on a piano worth more than my house." Anton laughed softly. "The value of a piano doesn't change the music that comes from it. But I must say, you surprised me, Lily. Your playing has something that many trained musicians spend their whole lives trying to achieve." "What do you mean?" Lily asked, genuinely confused. She knew her playing was amateur at best. "Authenticity," Anton said simply. "Music isn't just about hitting the right notes in the right order. It's about conveying emotion, telling a story. You play from the heart." Lily looked down at her hands, ordinary hands with short nails and a small scar on her right thumb from a cooking accident years ago. "My grandmother used to say something similar. She called it soul playing. But she was probably just being kind." "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman," Anton said. "Tell me about her. She taught you to play?" As they enjoyed their tea and the delicate pastries, Lily found herself opening up about her childhood. She told Anton about growing up in a small house with her mother and grandmother after her father left when she was just 4 years old. Money had been tight, but her grandmother had made sure there was always music in the house. "She played the organ at our church," Lily explained. "She couldn't afford piano lessons for me, but she taught me what she knew. When I was 8, my uncle gave us an old electronic keyboard he was going to throw away. It only had 4 octaves, and some of the keys stuck, but I practiced on it every day." "And you never had formal lessons?" Anton asked, fascinated by her story. Lily shook her head. "There was no money for that. In high school, I was allowed to use the piano in the music room during lunch breaks. That's when I started learning more complicated pieces by ear. I'd listen to something on the radio or on a CD from the library, then try to figure it out." "Remarkable," Anton murmured. "And now?" "Now I teach 3rd grade," Lily said with a small smile. "The school has an old upright piano in the music room. It's terribly out of tune, but the kids don't seem to mind. I play for them during story time or when we have indoor recess on rainy days." Anton leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Have you ever thought about pursuing music more seriously?" Lily laughed, a genuine burst of amusement. No, of course not. I'm not a real musician. I'm just someone who enjoys playing. I think you're selling yourself short, Anton said. He glanced at his watch. I have an idea. My evening rehearsal with the orchestra was canceled because the conductor caught a cold. Would you come with me? There's something I'd like to show you. Lily hesitated. She had planned to visit the Art Institute that evening, but the sincerity in Anton's expression intrigued her. Where would we be going? Not far, he assured her. The Symphony Center is just a few blocks from here. 30 minutes later, they walked through the stage door of the magnificent Chicago Symphony Orchestra Hall. The security guard nodded respectfully to Anton, barely glancing at Lily as they passed. Anton led her through a maze of hallways until they reached the main concert hall. The space was enormous and empty, with row upon row of seats facing a stage where a single grand piano stood under a spotlight. The rest of the stage was in shadow, the orchestra's chairs and stands waiting silently for tomorrow's rehearsal. This is where I'll be performing tomorrow night, Anton explained, his voice echoing slightly in the vast space. The acoustics are perfect. He led Lily onto the stage where she stood awkwardly, feeling small beneath the soaring ceiling. Sit, Anton encouraged, gesturing to the piano bench. No one's here but us. The cleaning crew won't arrive until later. I couldn't, possibly, Lily protested. This is where real musicians play. Anton's expression softened. That's exactly my point, Lily. I want you to experience what it feels like. Just once. Please. Unable to resist his gentle insistence, Lily sat down at the piano. This instrument was even more magnificent than the one in the hotel lobby. She placed her fingers on the keys but didn't press down. I don't know what to play, she whispered. Play the Debussy again, Anton suggested, moving to stand at the curve of the piano. The piece you played at the hotel, Clair de Lune. Is that what it's called? Lily asked. I've always just thought of it as the Moonlight Song. I heard it in a movie years ago and fell in love with it. Anton nodded encouragingly. Play it however you remember it. Don't worry about playing it correctly. Just play it the way it feels right to you. Lily took a deep breath and began to play. The first notes rang out in the perfect acoustics of the hall, pure and clear. She closed her eyes, letting the music flow through her. Without the nervousness she had felt at the hotel, her playing was even more fluid, more expressive. Anton watched in silent amazement. Her interpretation was unconventional. She slowed in places where most pianists would maintain tempo, emphasized notes that weren't typically highlighted. Yet the result was breathtakingly beautiful, like hearing the familiar piece for the first time. Her lack of formal training hadn't limited her expression. If anything, it had freed her from the constraints of traditional interpretation. When Lily finished, the last notes seemed to hang in the air of the empty concert hall. She opened her eyes, looking almost surprised to find herself on the stage of one of the world's great concert venues. That was beautiful, Anton said quietly. But I think you have even more to give. Would you try something else? Something more challenging? Like what? Lily asked, her confidence growing despite herself. Anton thought for a moment. Do you know any Chopin? Lily bit her lip. I know one of his pieces. At least I think it's Chopin. It starts like this. She played the opening bars of a nocturne. Nocturne in E-flat major, Anton identified immediately. One of his most beloved works. Please, continue. Lily played the nocturne, her hands moving across the keys with growing assurance. The piece was more technically demanding than Clair de Lune, and there were moments when her lack of training showed in small hesitations or simplified passages. But the emotional quality of her playing remained, drawing Anton in despite the technical imperfections. As she played the final chords, a sound from the back of the hall startled them both. Someone was applauding. Anton turned to see Thomas Wong, the orchestra's artistic director, walking down the center aisle toward the stage. I thought you'd canceled rehearsal, Thomas called out. But I see you found someone to practice with. Anton stepped forward, Thomas, this is Lily Chen. He paused, looking at Lily with a smile. She's a teacher and a remarkable natural talent. Thomas joined them on stage, shaking Lily's hand. That was quite something, he said. Unconventional, but very moving. Where did you study? Lily's face flushed. I didn't. I'm just an elementary school teacher who plays for fun. Thomas raised, his eyebrows looking at Anton with surprise. That's why I brought her here, Anton explained. I wanted you to hear her. She has something special, Thomas, something that can't be taught. Thomas studied Lily with newfound interest. I agree. It's raw, but the musicality is undeniable. He turned to Lily. How long are you in Chicago? Ms. Chen? Just until Sunday, Lily replied, feeling suddenly nervous under his scrutiny. I have a proposition, Anton said, looking between Thomas and Lily. Our program tomorrow includes Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 and several solo pieces. What if we added a short interlude, something unexpected? Thomas's eyes lit up. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? I am, Anton confirmed. A brief duo performance. Lily and I could play something together. A simple arrangement that showcases her natural expressiveness. You can't be serious, Lily interrupted, her voice rising with panic. I can't perform with a professional orchestra. I don't even read music properly. You wouldn't need to, Anton assured her. We could prepare something today and tomorrow morning. Something you already know, arranged as a duet. Thomas considered the idea. It's unorthodox, certainly, but it could be quite powerful. The contrast between classical training and natural talent. A reminder of why we make music in the first place. Lily stood up from the piano bench, shaking her head. This is crazy. I'm not a performer. I get nervous playing for my students' parents at school concerts. Anton placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Lily, I've been playing piano professionally for over 30 years. I've performed with the greatest musicians in the world. And yet when you played that simple folk song in the hotel lobby, you moved me in a way that few trained musicians ever have. Lily looked between the two men, searching, their faces for any sign that they were joking. They weren't. Think about it, Anton suggested. We'll have dinner and talk it through. If you decide it's too much, no hard feelings, but at least consider the possibility. Lily took a deep breath, her mind racing. 24 hours ago, she had been packing her suitcase in her small apartment, excited about her modest vacation. Now she was being asked to perform with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, alongside one of the world's greatest pianists. I'll think about it, she said finally, but I'm not promising anything. Thomas smiled. That's all we ask. And regardless of what you decide, would you play one more piece for us? Something of your choosing? Lily hesitated, then nodded slowly. She sat back down at the piano, took a moment to collect her thoughts, and began to play a haunting melody that neither man recognized, something that seemed both ancient and new, filled with longing and hope. It was a piece she had composed herself, though she would never have used that word. To Lily, it was just a tune that had lived in her heart for years, a melody that came to her fingers when words failed to express what she was feeling. As the last notes faded into silence, both men stood speechless, knowing they had witnessed something extraordinary, the pure, unfiltered expression of a rare musical gift. Lily barely slept that night. She lay awake in her hotel room, staring at the ceiling as her mind raced between excitement and panic. The events of the day seemed like something from a dream, or perhaps someone else's life entirely. She had come to Chicago for a quiet vacation, to visit museums and eat deep-dish pizza. Instead, she had somehow caught the attention of world-famous pianist Anton Petrov and was now considering performing with him at tomorrow night's concert. This is insane, she whispered to herself in the darkness. I can't possibly do this. But every time she decided to call Anton and decline his offer, she remembered the feeling of playing that magnificent piano in the empty concert hall. The way the notes had filled the space. The way the music had flowed through her without thought or effort. It had felt like flying. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text message from Anton. Breakfast at 8, Lobby Cafe. Bring comfortable clothes for rehearsal. No pressure, just exploration. Lily read the message 3 times. Then, before she could change her mind, she typed back, "I'll be there." She finally drifted off to sleep around 3 a.m., her dreams filled with pianos that stretched for miles and audiences that reached to the horizon. The next morning, Lily met Anton in the hotel's cafe. He was dressed casually in jeans and a navy sweater, looking more like a college professor than a classical music superstar. "You look tired," he observed as she slid into the chair across from him. "Second thoughts?" "About 1,000,000 of them," Lily admitted, gratefully accepting the coffee he pushed toward her. "I'm not sure I can do this, Anton. I'm not in your league. I'm not even playing the same sport." Anton smiled. "That's exactly why this will work. We're not trying to present you as something you're not. What moved me about your playing wasn't technical perfection. It was honesty. You play music the way it's meant to be played, as pure emotional expression. But what if I freeze up? What if I embarrass myself in front of all those people? What if I embarrass you? Then we'll have tried something brave and it won't have worked out," Anton said simply. "But I don't think that will happen. Thomas and I stayed late last night working on an arrangement that will showcase both of our strengths." He pulled several sheets of paper from a folder and placed them on the table. Lily looked at them with trepidation. They were covered with musical notation, lines and dots and symbols that meant little to her. "I told you I can't read music," she reminded him. "These are for me," Anton explained. "For you, I have this." He pulled out another piece of paper with the name of a familiar folk song at the top, followed by a series of letter names. "Just chord, names and a rough structure. The rest will be improvisation, a conversation between us." "Improvisation?" Lily's eyes widened. "You want me to make it up as I go along, in front of a paying audience?" "In a way," Anton nodded. "But it's not completely free form. We'll establish a framework during rehearsal today. The beauty of this piece is its simplicity. The melody is one you already know and the structure repeats. We'll create variations together. I'll lead sometimes, you'll lead others." Lily took a large sip of her coffee, wishing it were something stronger. "And Thomas is okay with this? It seems very unconventional for a classical concert." "Thomas loves the idea," Anton assured her. "Classical music has become too rigid, too focused on technical perfection at the expense of emotional connection. This will remind the audience why music matters in the first place." After breakfast, they took a taxi to the Symphony Center. The backstage area was bustling with activity, stagehands moving equipment, orchestra members arriving for morning rehearsal, administrative staff hurrying about with clipboards and coffee cups. Several people greeted Anton warmly as he led Lily to a small practice room containing an upright piano. "We'll start here," he explained. "Just the two of us getting comfortable with the basic structure." For the next 3 hours, they worked on their duet arrangement. Anton was a patient teacher, never showing frustration when Lily struggled to follow his lead or missed a transition. Instead, he adjusted his approach, finding ways to communicate musically that made sense to her untrained ear. "You have amazing instincts," he told her during a short break. "You're picking this up faster than many trained musicians would." Lily shook her head, but couldn't help feeling a small glow of pride. It still feels impossible. But it's also kind of magical, the way our parts fit together. After lunch, Thomas joined them, listening to their progress with thoughtful attention. "It's coming along beautifully," he said when they finished a complete run-through. "There's something captivating about the contrast between your styles. Anton, you bring the technical precision and classical structure. Lily, you bring an unpredictable freshness that makes us hear the music in a new way." He checked his watch. "The orchestra is ready on stage. Shall we try it with them?" Lily's stomach tightened with anxiety. "The whole orchestra, already?" "Just to get a feel for the space and how our parts will blend with the strings," Anton assured her. No pressure. But when they walked onto the main stage, Lily froze. The empty hall from yesterday was now filled with musicians. Violinists tuning their instruments, cellists adjusting their chairs, wine players assembling their instruments. All professionals, all experts, I can't do this, she whispered to Anton, panic rising in her throat. He took her hand and squeezed it gently. Yes, you can. Just focus on the music, forget about everything else. Thomas stepped to the conductor's podium and raised his hands for silence. Everyone, I'd like to introduce Lily Chen. She'll be joining Anton for a special duet performance in tomorrow's concert. Curious eyes turned toward Lily. She felt her face grow hot under their scrutiny. This is a bit unconventional, Thomas continued, but I think you'll understand why when you hear them play together. Let's try the piece once through just to get a feel for it. Anton led Lily to the two grand pianos positioned side by side at the front of the stage. As she sat down, he leaned over and whispered, Just play for yourself, like you did yesterday. The rest of us are just lucky to be here listening. Thomas raised his baton, and the orchestra began to play a gentle introduction. Anton nodded to Lily, and they joined in, their pianos weaving together with the string section. The folk melody was simple but beautiful, like a lullaby or a memory, amous. First, Lily played cautiously, hyper-aware of the professional musicians surrounding her, but gradually, as the music progressed, she began to lose herself in the familiar tune. Anton would play a variation, and she would respond, adding her own interpretation. It was like a conversation, his part technically brilliant, hers more intuitive but no less expressive. When they reached the end of the piece, there was a moment of silence. Then the concertmaster, a stern-looking woman with silver hair, tapped her bow against her music stand, the orchestral equivalent of applause during a rehearsal. Other musicians joined in, some nodding appreciatively, others smiling with surprise. That was lovely, Thomas said from the podium. Let's take it again from the beginning, and this time, strings, I'd like you to come in more softly during the middle section to give the pianos more room. They rehearsed for another hour, refining transitions and dynamics. With each run-through, Lily grew more comfortable, more confident in her role. She wasn't trying to match Anton's classical virtuosity. She was offering something different but complementary. During a short break, several orchestra members approached her. I've never heard anything quite like that, said a young violinist. It's like you're bringing a completely different perspective to a piece we all thought we knew. Where did you study? Asked a cellist. Your phrasing is so unique. Lily glanced at Anton, who gave her an encouraging nod. I didn't study anywhere, she admitted. I'm just a third-grade teacher who loves to play. Their expressions of surprise and renewed interest made her blush. Sometimes the most authentic music comes from outside the conservatory walls, Anton said, joining the conversation. Lily reminds us what music is about at its core, human expression, not just technical achievement. As the afternoon rehearsal concluded, Thomas gathered everyone for final notes. Tomorrow's concert will be something special, he told the orchestra. In addition to our scheduled program, we're offering our audience a rare musical conversation between different worlds. Thank you all for your flexibility and openness. Afterward, as the musicians packed up their instruments, Thomas and Anton took Lily to the small office backstage. How are you feeling? Thomas asked her. Still terrified? Yes, Lily admitted with a shaky laugh, but also excited. I never imagined anything like this could happen to me. That's the beauty of life, Anton said. The most meaningful experiences are often the ones we don't plan for. Thomas cleared his throat. There's one more thing we need to discuss. Practical matters. He handed Lily an envelope. This is a contract for tomorrow's performance along with your fee. Lily stared at the envelope. Fee? You want to pay me? But I'm not a professional. You're performing in a professional concert, Thomas pointed out. Of course you'll be compensated. It's not a large amount, but it's the standard rate for a guest soloist. Lily opened the envelope and nearly choked when she saw the figure. It was more than she made in 2 weeks of teaching. I can't accept this, she protested. I'm not qualified, I'm just... If you say just a teacher one more time, I might have to reconsider this whole arrangement, Anton interrupted with a stern look that melted into a smile. You're a musician, Lily. Different path, different training, but a musician nonetheless. Accept the fee, you've earned it. As they left the Symphony Center, the reality of tomorrow's performance began to sink in. Lily would be playing before a sold-out crowd of music lovers, critics, and classical music aficionados, people who had paid to hear excellence. "What will I wear?" she suddenly asked, panic in her voice. "I didn't pack anything fancy enough for a concert stage." Anton laughed. "That's your biggest worry, not the music, but the outfit?" "Both," Lily exclaimed. "I can't go out there in my travel clothes, but I also can't afford to buy a concert gown on a teacher's salary." "Leave that to me," Anton said. "I know someone who can help." 2 hours later, Lily stood in an upscale boutique after hours, trying on a simple but elegant black dress that the owner, a friend of Anton's, had selected for her. "It's perfect," the boutique owner said, making a small adjustment to the hem. "Classic, comfortable, and it allows freedom of movement for playing. Consider it on loan for the concert." Looking at herself in the mirror, Lily hardly recognized the woman staring back at her. Was this really happening? Was she really going to perform on stage tomorrow night? As if reading her thoughts, Anton spoke from where he sat waiting. "Tomorrow will come and go, Lily, but what matters is that you've already proven something important, to yourself and to us. Music isn't about credentials or years of formal training. It's about having something to say and the courage to say it." Lily took a deep breath, studying her reflection. The woman in the mirror looked terrified but also strangely determined. "Okay," she said finally. "Let's do this." The morning of the concert arrived with golden autumn sunshine streaming through the hotel room curtains. Lily woke early, her dreams having been a jumble of pianos, spotlights, and faceless audiences. For a moment she lay still, wondering if the past 2 days had been just an elaborate dream. But the black dress hanging on her closet door confirmed that everything was real. Her phone buzzed with a text from Anton. "Easy morning today, rest your mind. Lunch at noon, then one final run-through at 2, concert at 7:30. You're going to be wonderful." Lily hugged her pillow, fighting a wave of panic. What had she gotten herself into? She was a small-town teacher who played piano as a hobby. Tonight she would be on stage with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and one of the world's greatest pianists. The thought was so absurd that she nearly laughed out loud. To calm her nerves, she did what she always did back home when feeling overwhelmed. She made a list. Opening the hotel notepad, she wrote, "Take a long shower, eat a good breakfast. Call Mom 4. Walk in the park to clear my head. Lunch with Anton 6. Final rehearsal, rest before concert 8, play music." The simple act of breaking the day into manageable chunks helped settle her racing thoughts. She added a final item to the list. "Remember to breathe after breakfast," Lily called her mother, who had been shocked and delighted by the news of her daughter's unexpected opportunity. "I still can't believe it," her mother said. "My Lily, playing with Anton Petrov. Your grandmother would have been so proud." "I'm terrified, Mom," Lily admitted, pacing her hotel room. "What if I freeze up? What if I embarrass myself in front of all those people?" "Then you'll have a great story to tell your students," her mother replied pragmatically. "But that won't happen. You've been playing from your heart since you were little. That doesn't change just because the audience is bigger." Lily smiled at her mother's simple wisdom. "I wish you could be here." "Me too, sweetheart, but I'll be there in spirit. And you have to promise to record it somehow, even if it's just on your phone." Anton said the symphony records all their concerts. He promised to get me a copy. After the call, Lily followed her list, taking a long walk through Millennium Park. The fresh air and exercise helped clear her mind, and by the time she met Anton for lunch, she felt calmer. "You look better today," he observed as they settled at a quiet corner table in a small Italian restaurant near the Symphony Center. "More rested." "I'm still nervous," Lily admitted, "but I've decided to just focus on the music and not worry about everything else." Anton smiled. "That's exactly the right approach. Musicians spend years learning to ignore the audience, the critics, the pressure, to just be present with the music." "Is that hard for you too?" Lily asked, curious. "After all these years of Performing? Anton considered the question seriously. It comes and goes. Some concerts, I'm completely in the zone. Just me and the piano having a conversation. Other nights, I'm hyper-aware of everything. A cough in the audience, a slight mistake, a memory slip. Those are the harder performances. How do you handle it when that happens? I remind myself why I play music in the first place, Anton said, simply. Not for applause or reviews, but because it's how I best express what it means to be human. That usually brings me back to center. Their final rehearsal that afternoon was brief. Just one run-through of their duet piece with minimal input from Thomas. It's in good shape, the conductor told them. Don't overthink it now, let it breathe tonight. Afterward, Anton walked Lily back to the hotel. Rest for a few hours, he advised. I'll send a car for you at 6:30. What should I do until then? Lily asked, the nervous energy already building again. Whatever relaxes you, Anton said. Some musicians take naps. Others go for walks. I usually read poetry, something completely unrelated to music to give my brain a rest. Back in her room, Lily tried to nap but found it impossible. Instead, she called her best friend Katie back home. I can't believe this is happening, Katie squealed after Lily brought her up to date. My best friend is about to become famous. Hardly, Lily laughed. I'm just a one-time novelty act. Tomorrow I go back to being a regular tourist, and next week I'll be teaching fractions to 8-year-olds again. Still, it's amazing, Katie insisted. How are you feeling? Like I might throw up, Lily admitted. But also, I don't know, alive. Like I'm finally doing something completely unexpected and maybe even a little brave. It's definitely brave, Katie said. And for what it's worth, I've always thought you were wasting your talent just playing for the kids at school. Maybe this is the universe giving you a nudge. After the call, Lily took a long bath, then carefully applied her makeup. Nothing too dramatic, just enough to keep her from looking washed out under the stage lights. She styled her hair in a simple updo, then slipped into the black dress. Looking in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. At exactly 6:30, her phone rang. The car was waiting. The backstage area of the Symphony Center was buzzing with pre-concert energy. Musicians in formal black attire warmed up, chatted, and prepared their instruments. Lily was led to a small dressing room with her name on a temporary paper sign taped to the door. Inside, she found a bouquet of yellow daisies with a note from Anton. These reminded me of the sunshine in your playing. See you on stage. The simple gesture brought tears to her eyes. Taking a deep breath, she sat down and tried to center herself, just as she always did before the school's holiday, concerts or parent nights. A stagehand knocked on her door. 15 minutes to places, Ms. Chen. Lily nodded, her throat suddenly too dry to speak. She checked her reflection one last time, straightened her dress, and stepped into the hallway. Anton was waiting for her, handsome in his concert attire, a traditional black tuxedo with a white bow tie. Ready? He asked. Not even a little bit, Lily admitted with a shaky laugh. But I'm here. He smiled warmly. That's all that matters. The rest will take care of itself. They could hear the murmur of the audience through the stage doors, a sold-out crowd of nearly 2,500 people. Lily's heart pounded so hard she was sure Anton could hear it. When do we go on? She whispered. Our piece is right after intermission, Anton explained. The first half is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. We can watch from the wings or from the private box if you prefer. Lily opted for the box where she could observe without being seen. As the orchestra played the famous symphony, she tried to focus on the music instead of her nerves. Anton sat beside her, occasionally pointing out particularly beautiful moments in the performance. Listen to how the cellos and basses create that foundation, he whispered. And now the way the French horns enter. His passion for the music was contagious, and Lily found herself temporarily forgetting her own upcoming performance as she lost herself in Beethoven's masterpiece. All too soon, the first half ended. The audience applauded enthusiastically as Thomas took his bows and the orchestra left the stage for intermission. Time to go downstairs, Anton said gently. We'll wait in the green room until they call us. The green room was a comfortable lounge area where several orchestra members, We're taking their break. They nodded respectfully to Anton and gave encouraging smiles to Lily. Breathe, the concertmaster advised her kindly. Remember, the audience is on your side. They want you to succeed. After what seemed like both an eternity and no time at all, a stagehand appeared at the door. 5 minutes, please, Mr. Petrov and Ms. Chen to the stage. They were led to the wings, where they could see stagehands adjusting the 2 grand pianos at the front of the stage. The house lights dimmed, signaling the end of intermission. The audience's conversations quieted as people returned to their seats. I think I'm going to pass out, Lily whispered, only half joking. Anton took her hand and squeezed it gently. Focus on the music, not the audience. We're just having a conversation with each other through the pianos. The people out there are just eavesdropping. Thomas appeared beside them, straightening his conductor's jacket. Ready? Anton nodded. Lily managed a tight smile. Thomas stepped onto the stage to enthusiastic applause. He raised his hands for quiet, then addressed the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with our scheduled program, I'd like to present something special. 2 days ago, our soloist Anton Petrov made a remarkable discovery in a hotel lobby, a pianist with extraordinary natural talent who has never had formal training. Tonight, they will perform a unique duet arrangement that bridges the gap between classical virtuosity and intuitive musicality. Please welcome Anton Petrov and Lily Chen. The audience applauded politely, with an undercurrent of curious murmurs. Clearly, this was not what they had expected from their evening of classical music. Anton led Lily onto the stage, keeping a reassuring hand at her elbow. The spotlights were blinding, making the audience a dark, faceless mass beyond the stage. In a way that helped. Lily couldn't see the people watching her. They took their places at their respective pianos. Thomas stepped onto the conductor's podium. The string section readied their bows. Lily glanced at Anton, who gave her a small nod and a smile. Then Thomas raised his baton, and the music began. The orchestra played a gentle introduction, creating a soft bed of sound. Anton began his part, his fingers dancing across the keys with practiced precision. Then came Lily's entrance, a simple statement of the folk melody that was the heart of their arrangement. For the first few measures, Lily played mechanically, her fingers stiff with nerves. But as Anton responded to her melody with his own variation, something shifted. This wasn't about the audience or the prestigious venue or her lack of credentials. This was about the conversation they were having through music. Anton's classical flourishes answered by Lily's more straightforward but emotionally direct playing. As the piece progressed, they built on each other's ideas. When Anton played something complex and technically brilliant, Lily responded with something simple but heartfelt. The orchestra supported them, adding texture and depth, but the focus remained on the dialogue between the 2 pianos. Halfway through, Lily forgot to be nervous. She forgot about the audience, the critics, her own limitations. She was simply playing, responding to Anton's musical ideas with her own, letting the music flow through her as naturally as breathing. There was a moment, a magical, suspended moment, when everything aligned perfectly. Anton played a delicate, questioning phrase that hung in the air like an unfinished thought. Lily answered with a variation of the melody that seemed to complete his idea in a way that was unexpected, yet somehow perfect. A ripple of reaction passed through the orchestra, and even Thomas looked momentarily startled by the beauty of the exchange. As they approached the final section, Lily could feel the energy in the hall, a collective holding of breath, a shared recognition that something special was happening. The piece ended not with a dramatic flourish but with a gentle, intimate exchange, Anton playing a whispered question, Lily answering with a soft, resolute resolution. The final notes hung in the air for a heartbeat. Then the hall erupted in applause, not the polite appreciation of a classical audience, but something more spontaneous and emotional. People were standing, some calling out bravo. Others were simply clapping with uninhibited enthusiasm. Lily sat frozen at the piano, unable to process what had just happened. Anton rose and came to her, taking her hand and helping her to her feet. Together they faced the audience and bowed. "They love you," Anton whispered as the applause continued. "As they should." Looking out at the standing audience, Lily felt a surge of emotion so powerful it brought tears to her eyes. In this moment, she wasn't just a small-town teacher with a hobby. She was a musician who had connected with an audience in the most fundamental way possible, through the universal language of music. The applause seemed to go on forever. Lily and Anton took 3 curtain calls before finally leaving the stage, only to be called back once more by the persistent audience. When they finally returned to the wings, orchestra members were waiting to congratulate them. "That was extraordinary," the concertmaster told Lily, her earlier reserve replaced by genuine warmth. "I've never heard anything quite like it." Thomas joined them, his face flushed with excitement. "I knew it would be special, but that exceeded all my expectations. The chemistry between you two was remarkable." Anton squeezed Lily's shoulder. It wasn't just chemistry. It was Lily's gift, her ability to speak directly to the heart through music. Lily felt dazed, still processing what had just happened. Did that really go well? It wasn't just people being polite. A violinist nearby laughed. "Chicago symphony audiences aren't known for standing ovations unless they mean it. Trust me, that was genuine." The second half of the concert continued with Anton performing Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, as originally scheduled. Lily watched from the wings, marveling at his technical brilliance and emotional depth. Now that her own performance was over, she could appreciate his artistry without the cloud of her own anxiety. As the concert concluded and the audience began to file out, Thomas approached Lily backstage. "There are some people who'd like to meet you," he said. "Would you be comfortable with that?" Lily smoothed her dress nervously. "Who wants to meet me?" "Critics, donors, music lovers," Thomas explained. "It's standard after performances, just a short reception in the green room. Nothing formal." Lily nodded, though her stomach tightened at the thought of more social interaction. She followed Thomas down the hallway to the green room, where about 20 people were gathered, sipping champagne and chatting. Anton was already there, engaged in conversation with an elderly couple. As Lily entered, heads turned. A hush fell over the room, followed by a spontaneous round of applause. Her face flushed with embarrassment and pleasure. For the next hour, she moved from group to group, answering questions about her background and musical experience. Most people seemed fascinated by her lack of formal training, though a few seemed skeptical, as if they suspected some publicity stunt. "So you really have no classical training at all?" asked a sharp-featured woman who had introduced herself as a music critic for a national magazine. "You've never studied with a professional teacher?" "Never," Lily confirmed. "My grandmother taught me the basics when I was little. Everything else I learned by ear, listening to recordings and figuring things out on my own." "Remarkable," the critic murmured, making a note in a small notebook. "And what are your plans now? Will you continue teaching or pursue music more seriously?" The question caught Lily off guard. She hadn't thought beyond tonight's performance. I don't know," she admitted. This was all so unexpected. "I still have a classroom of 3rd graders waiting for me back home." Across the room, she caught Anton's eye. He excused himself from his conversation and made his way to her side. "Lily needs to rest," he told the critic firmly. "It's been an eventful day." He guided her toward the door, but they were intercepted by a tall man with silver hair and an expensive suit. "Ms. Chen, I'm Robert Harlow, Dean of the Midwest Conservatory of Music," he said, extending his hand. "I was deeply moved by your performance tonight. I'd like to talk to you about some possibilities if you're interested." Anton raised an eyebrow. "What kind of possibilities, Robert?" "A special student position, perhaps," the dean said. "Or a visiting artist arrangement. Someone with Ms. Chen's natural talent deserves the opportunity to develop it fully." Lily blinked in surprise. "You want me to study at the conservatory, but I'm 34. Aren't your students usually much younger?" "Talent doesn't have an expiration date," Dean Harlow replied, "and yours is too extraordinary to ignore. Here's my card. Think about it." By the time they left the Symphony Center, it was nearly midnight. The cool night air felt wonderful after the stuffy green room. Anton suggested a late dinner at a quiet restaurant he knew nearby, and Lily gratefully accepted. She was too wired to sleep anyway. Over pasta and wine, they replayed moments from the performance, laughing about Lily's initial terror and marveling at how naturally they had connected musically. "I've performed with hundreds of musicians over my career," Anton told her, "but rarely have I experienced that kind of immediate understanding. It was like we were having a conversation without words." "It felt that way to me too," Lily admitted. "Once I got past the fear, it was, I don't know how to describe it, like we were completing each other's sentences." "Exactly." Anton twirled pasta on his fork, considering his next words carefully. "Lily, I think you need to consider Dean Harlow's offer. Your talent deserves nurturing." Lily set down her glass. "But my life is back in Ohio. My job, my apartment, my friends. I can't just walk away from all that." "Of course not," Anton agreed. "But there are summer programs, weekend master classes, ways to develop your gift without abandoning your teaching career. Why does it matter so much to you?" Lily asked, genuinely curious. Anton was quiet for a moment. "Because I've spent my life in the classical music world, and I've seen how insular it can become. How rigid and rule-bound. Your playing reminds me why I fell in love with music in the first place, because it speaks to something essential in the human experience." He leaned forward. "The music world needs voices like yours, Lily. Different perspectives, different approaches." Back at the hotel, Lily found she couldn't sleep despite her exhaustion. She sat by the window, looking out at the Chicago skyline, trying to make sense of the past 3 days. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Just saw a clip of your performance on someone's social media. It's already getting thousands of shares. So proud of you." Curious, Lily opened her social media app and searched for Symphony Center. Sure enough, someone had posted a shaky phone video of part of her performance with Anton. The comments were overwhelming. "Who is this woman? She plays with such emotion. This made me cry, so beautiful. I've never seen Anton Petrov play with such joy. They're magic together. Does she have other recordings? I want to hear more." The video had indeed been shared thousands of times in just a few hours. Lily closed the app, feeling a strange mix of pride and panic. Whatever normal life she had expected to return to was rapidly changing. The next morning, Lily met Anton for breakfast. He slid a stack of newspapers across the table to her. "The reviews are in," he said with a smile. Lily picked up the top paper with trembling hands. The headline read, "Unlikely Duo Creates Musical Magic at Symphony Center." The review praised the refreshing authenticity of her playing and the remarkable chemistry between her and Anton. Another review called it the most unexpectedly moving performance of the season, and described Lily as a natural talent whose lack of formal training seems to have preserved a rare emotional directness. Not all the reviews were entirely positive. One critic questioned whether her inclusion was a gimmick and suggested that while her playing was emotionally effective, it lacked the technical refinement that classical audiences expect. "Don't let that one bother you," Anton said, noting her expression as she read the more critical review. "Bernard always favors technical precision over emotional expression. He's written similar things about me over the years." Lily set down the papers. "What happens now, Anton?" "I'm supposed to fly home tomorrow. That depends on what you want," he replied. "Your life has opened up in new ways. You have choices you didn't have a week ago." After breakfast, they walked through Millennium Park, talking through possibilities. Dean Harlow had already called. Anton, eager to set up a meeting with Lily before she left town. There were other opportunities, too. A summer music festival was interested in featuring her, and Anton himself had proposed a series of joint concerts. "It's overwhelming," Lily admitted, as they sat on a bench near the famous bean sculpture. 3 days ago, I was just a teacher on vacation. Now people are talking about concerts and music festivals and conservatory programs." "You don't have to decide everything right away," Anton assured her. Take your time, go home, think about what you truly want. What would you do if you were me? Anton considered the question carefully. I would find a way to honor both parts of my life, the teaching that you clearly love and the music that is clearly in your soul. Perhaps there's a way to bring those worlds together. That afternoon, Lily met with Dean Harlow at the conservatory. He showed her around the impressive facilities, practice rooms with beautiful pianos, performance spaces, classrooms filled with eager young musicians. We could create a customized program for you, he explained. Weekend intensives, summer sessions, and perhaps some teaching opportunities as well. Our students could benefit tremendously from your unique perspective. As they passed a classroom, Lily paused to watch a teacher working with a young girl at the piano. The child was playing with technical precision but seemed tense, her small shoulders hunched with concentration. She's very skilled, Lily observed. One of our most promising students, the dean agreed. She's only 10, but she's already mastered pieces most teenagers struggle with. Lily watched as the teacher corrected the girl's hand position and had her repeat a difficult passage. She doesn't look like she's enjoying it very much. Dean Harlow frowned slightly. The joy comes later, with mastery. Does it? Lily asked softly. I'm not so sure. The question lingered in her mind as she packed her suitcase that evening. Her flight was scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Anton had invited her to brunch before her departure, promising to bring all the contact information she would need to stay connected with the opportunities that had arisen. As she folded her clothes, her phone rang. It was the principal of her school back home. Lily, I just saw you on the news, playing piano with Anton Petrov. Why didn't you tell us? Lily laughed. It all happened so fast, I'm still trying to process it myself. Well, the whole school is buzzing about it. The kids are so excited that their teacher is famous. They're already asking if you can play for the winter concert. A sudden warmth filled Lily's chest. I'd love that. After the call, Lily sat on the edge of the hotel bed, thinking. By the time she met Anton for brunch the next morning, she had made some decisions. I'm going home as planned, she told him. I need to get back to my students. Anton nodded, unsurprised. And the other opportunities? I'm going to explore them, but on my own terms, Lily said with newfound confidence. Dean Harlow's weekend program interests me, and I'd love to do more performances with you, but I'm not giving up teaching. In fact, I have an idea I'd like to discuss with my principal when I get back. What kind of idea? A music program for kids who can't afford private lessons. Something that focuses on the joy of playing, not just the technique. Maybe I can bring a little of what you showed me to children who might otherwise never get the chance. Anton smiled broadly. I think that's perfect, Lily, and I'd be happy to help however I can. Perhaps a benefit concert to raise funds? They spent the rest of brunch making plans, not just for Lily's musical development, but for ways to bring music to children who might otherwise never have the opportunity to discover their own gifts. As they said goodbye at the airport, Anton took both her hands in his. Thank you, Lily. For what? You're the one who changed my life. You reminded me of something I had nearly forgotten. Why music matters in the first place. Not for reviews or applause or prestige, but because it connects us to each other into something larger than ourselves. On the plane home, Lily looked out the window as Chicago receded below her. The past 3 days felt like a dream, but the business cards in her purse and the newspaper reviews in her carry-on were tangible reminders that it had all really happened. Her life had been permanently altered by a chance encounter at a piano in a hotel lobby, but as she watched the clouds pass beneath the plane, Lily realized that the most valuable thing she was bringing home wasn't the recognition or the opportunities. It was the knowledge that sometimes the most extraordinary moments come when we step outside our carefully planned lives and have the courage to say yes to the unexpected.